Have you ever felt it? That hunger that has nothing to do with food. A craving so deep it feels like it's carved into your bones. You chase a fleeting moment, a spark of desire, a stranger's validation in the dark ... only to find yourself, hours later, feeling more alone than you did before. The echo of that brief intensity just makes the silence in your own life feel louder. What if that constant aching lust isn't some flaw in your character? What if it's not a sign that you're broken, or deviant, or too much? What if it's actually a map, pointing directly to a hidden wound you never even knew you had? What if this relentless drive isn't really a search for pleasure at all, but a desperate, subconscious attempt to heal something that broke inside you a long time ago? We're taught to see lust as a simple, primal urge. But for so many, especially for men who find themselves stuck in a compulsive cycle of seeking it, it's anything but simple. It's a complex psychological drama playing out on the stage of your life, where every new encounter is a repetition of an old story, and every new obsession is the ghost of a past need. Today, we're not just going to look at the behavior. We're going to follow that map. We'll trace the hunger back to its source and uncover the wound that has been secretly driving you, keeping you running in circles and leaving you feeling empty. Because understanding the wound is the first step to finally, truly healing it. Let's talk about a man we'll call Mark. On the surface, Mark is the picture of success. He's got a good job in a city that never sleeps, a sharp sense of humor, and a life that, from the outside, looks full. But Mark is living with a secret, a hollow ache that no amount of success, no promotion, no late night at the office can fill. His evenings and weekends are run by a powerful compulsive rhythm. It starts as a low hum of restlessness, a feeling of being disconnected from himself and the world. And that feeling grows into annoying emptiness, a void that just screams to be filled. And Mark knows exactly how to quiet that noise, at least for a little while. He opens an app, he goes to a bar, he seeks out the electric thrill of a new pursuit. The goal is always the same: find a flicker of desire in someone else's eyes. He is a master of the chase. He knows exactly what to say, how to create a moment of intense, focused connection that feels, for a short time, like the most real thing in the world. In those moments, under the spell of mutual lust, he feels seen. He feels powerful. He feels whole. But that feeling of wholeness is a mirage. The next morning, he always wakes up alone, even if someone is lying next to him. The intense connection from the night before has evaporated, leaving behind a residue of shame and an even deeper sense of isolation. The person beside him is a stranger again, a reminder of the chasm between the illusion of intimacy and the reality of his own loneliness. The emptiness rushes back in, but this time it's heavier, colder. He has spent another night pouring his energy, his focus, his very essence into a vessel that couldn't hold it, and now he's more drained than ever. This is Mark's cycle. A desperate hunt for a fleeting moment of intensity, followed by a crushing return to an inner void. He tells himself it's just about sex, that he just has a high drive. But he knows, in the quiet, honest moments he tries so hard to avoid, that it's not true. Sex is just the delivery mechanism for something else he's craving. Each encounter is a temporary fix for a problem he can't name, a pain he can't locate. He's like a man dying of thirst, frantically drinking salt water. Each gulp only makes his thirst more agonizing, pushing him further away from the fresh water his soul actually needs. He isn't trapped by his desire for pleasure. He's trapped by his addiction to a cure that is actually the poison. One Tuesday night, the cycle breaks. Or rather, Mark breaks. He'd spent the evening chasing a connection that felt particularly promising. The conversation was witty, the attraction was palpable. For a few hours, he felt that familiar, intoxicating rush of being the sole focus of someone's desire. He went home with her, and for that brief window of time, the void was silenced. But when he slipped out of her apartment before dawn, the walk home under the sterile orange glow of the streetlights felt different. The usual emptiness was there, but this time, it came with a terrifying clarity. He saw the pattern of his life laid out before him like a grim, repeating fractal. The faces changed, the locations changed, but the feeling was always the same. A desperate, frantic climb up a mountain of momentary validation, followed by a long, brutal fall back into himself. He stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, the quiet hum of the sleeping city around him. He thought about the woman he'd just left. He couldn't even remember the color of her eyes. He'd been so focused on seeing himself reflected in them, he had never actually seen her. And in that moment, the entire charade crumbled. He wasn't a predator, a player, or a man in control. He was a ghost, haunting the lives of others for a few hours, just hoping to feel solid. Leaning against a cold brick wall, a question, both terrifying and liberating, surfaced from the depths of his exhaustion. What if this hunger, this insatiable drive that he had always just called lust, wasn't about pleasure at all? What if it had nothing to do with sex or conquest or even connection? What if it was a cry? A desperate, primal scream from a part of him that was wounded a long time ago? What if every chase, every fleeting encounter, was a subconscious attempt to go back in time and fix something? To win a love he never got, to feel a sense of worth he was never given, to heal a wound he never even knew he had. The question hung in the pre-dawn air, and for the first time, Mark didn't run from the emptiness. He stood still and let the question sink in, feeling the first tremor of a fundamental shift, the terrifying and hopeful beginning of an answer. Mark's story isn't unique. It's a story lived by countless men who mistake an ancient pain for a modern desire. To understand what's really going on, we need to look past the surface-level behavior and into the engine room of the psyche. What Mark is experiencing is a powerful psychological phenomenon. One of the most powerful drivers for this behavior is a psychological concept known as repetition compulsion. The term, first explored by Freud, describes an unconscious need to repeat difficult or traumatic experiences from the past. Now, that might sound crazy. Why would anyone unconsciously choose to revisit pain? The theory is that it's not because we enjoy suffering. It's because the psyche is desperately trying to gain mastery over what happened. It's like a part of you believes, this time I can get it right. This time I'll win their approval. This time I won't be abandoned. This time I'll be enough. So if your first experience of love was chaotic and unreliable, you don't automatically seek out a partner who is kind and stable. Instead, your internal radar becomes exquisitely tuned to find people who feel strangely familiar. You might mistake the anxiety and intensity they stir up in you for passion or chemistry, but it's often just your nervous system recognizing a dynamic it learned as a kid. The frantic chase for the emotionally unavailable person isn't some new adventure. It's a reenactment of trying to win the attention of a distant or preoccupied parent. The obsession with someone who gives you breadcrumbs of affection is a replay of a childhood where love felt scarce and had to be earned. Of course, this isn't the whole picture. Factors like our own biology and brain chemistry also play a role. But this compulsive repetition is a tragic, unconscious attempt at healing. You end up casting new people in old roles, hoping to rewrite the ending of a play that was staged decades ago. But the new actors don't know their lines, and the script is rigged. You inevitably end up feeling the same way you did as a child, rejected, unseen, or abandoned. The lust and obsession aren't the real drivers. They're the symptoms of this deeper mission to fix the past. The intense hunger you feel isn't for the person in front of you. It's for the resolution your inner child never got. Until you make this process conscious, you're doomed to repeat it, forever chasing ghosts. This repetition compulsion is always trying to heal something specific. While every person's story is unique, the drivers often fall into a few core categories of hidden wounds. These wounds are formed in childhood, where our sense of self and our map for love are created. Let's break down 3 of the most common wounds that fuel this cycle. The wound of abandonment. This wound isn't just about physical abandonment, like a parent leaving. More often, it's emotional abandonment. It's the wound from the parent who was physically there, but emotionally checked out, too overwhelmed, too distracted, or just incapable of giving consistent emotional support. A child doesn't experience this as, "My parent is struggling." They experience it as, "I'm not important enough to be attended to. I'm on my own." This plants a deep-seated fear of being left, of being disposable. In adulthood, this wound shows up as a terrifying insecurity in relationships. A man with an abandonment wound lives with a constant, low-grade panic of being left. He might become hyper-vigilant, scanning for any sign of disinterest. A text left on read or a slight change in tone can trigger a huge wave of anxiety that feels like a survival threat. To cope, he often develops one of 2 strategies. The first is to cling. He becomes a people pleaser, losing himself to become whatever he thinks his partner wants, all to avoid being left. The second, and more common strategy in this context, is to leave first. He avoids true intimacy because intimacy means vulnerability, and vulnerability means giving someone the power to abandon him all over again. So he engages in a series of fleeting, intense, but ultimately shallow encounters. The chase and the conquest provide a temporary hit of validation. She wants me, so I exist, without the terrifying risk of real connection. He gets the feeling of being wanted without the danger of being known and then rejected. Each new conquest is a desperate attempt to prove he's not abandonable, yet by never staying, he perpetually abandons himself and others, reinforcing the very loneliness he's trying to run from. The wound of invisibility. This is the wound of emotional neglect. It belongs to the child who was fed, clothed, and housed, but was never truly seen. His inner world, his feelings, his fears, his joys was ignored. When he was sad, he was told to man up. When he was excited, he was told to calm down. He learned a devastating lesson. How I feel doesn't matter. Therefore, I don't matter. As an adult, this man walks through the world feeling profoundly invisible. He feels like a ghost, disconnected from his own emotions and from other people. He got so good at suppressing his feelings that he might not even know what they are anymore. This creates a desperate, subconscious craving to be seen, to have his existence validated in a powerful, undeniable way. And what's more undeniable than lust? In a moment of intense sexual desire, you are the absolute center of someone's universe. Your physical presence isn't just acknowledged, it's craved. For a man with the wound of invisibility, this is an incredibly potent drug. The gaze of a lustful partner finally makes him feel real, solid, and visible. It's a powerful antidote to a lifetime of feeling like he's made of smoke, but it's a counterfeit solution. He's being seen not for who he is, but for the pleasure or validation he can provide. The obsession isn't with the other person, but with the feeling of being seen through their desire. He gets addicted to that initial spark, the moment of being noticed, because it's the only time he feels he truly exists. Once the intensity fades and real emotional intimacy becomes possible, the very thing that would actually make him feel seen for who he is, he panics and runs. True intimacy is terrifying because it requires revealing an inner self he was taught is worthless. So he returns to the hunt, forever seeking the next pair of eyes that will grant him a fleeting moment of existence. Research consistently shows that childhood emotional neglect is a significant predictor of compulsive sexual behaviors, precisely because it creates this desperate need for external validation. The wound of unworthiness, the father wound. This is often called the father wound. It's not a formal clinical diagnosis, but it is a powerful metaphor for a wound that comes from having a father who is critical, absent, or impossible to please. A father plays a foundational role in shaping a child's sense of self-worth and their place in the world. When that figure is missing or is a constant source of criticism, a boy internalizes a crippling message: I am not good enough. This feeling of inadequacy becomes the central organizing principle of his life. He believes, on a cellular level, that he's fundamentally flawed. This creates a relentless drive to prove his worth. He becomes a human doing instead of a human being, constantly striving and performing to get the validation his father never gave him. His sense of self isn't inherent. It's built on a fragile foundation of what he can accomplish. This translates directly into his romantic and sexual life. He doesn't see relationships as a place for connection. He sees them as another arena to perform and prove his value. Sex becomes less about intimacy and more about performance. Was I good enough? Did I please her? Was I the best? His focus is entirely on his performance, because a successful performance temporarily silences the inner critic that sounds just like his father. Obsession takes root here easily. He might fixate on a high-value partner, believing that winning them over will finally prove he is worthy. The person becomes a trophy, a symbol of the validation he craves. But even if he wins, the feeling of unworthiness is still there. No amount of external validation can heal an internal wound. He might even sabotage the relationship because deep down, he doesn't believe he deserves it. He's trapped in a tragic loop. His feeling of unworthiness drives him to perform, but because the validation is external, it never lasts, and the wound of not being good enough continues to fester, demanding another performance, another chase, another empty conquest. Let's go back to Mark, standing on that cold sidewalk before dawn. Realizing his relentless pursuit of lust was a symptom, not the disease, didn't fix him overnight. In fact, the weeks that followed were even harder. The old urge would rise up, the restlessness, the familiar siren song of the chase promising a temporary escape. Several times he found himself with his phone in his hand, his thumb hovering over the apps, his mind already crafting the perfect opening line. But now he saw the impulse for what it was, not a craving for a woman's body, but the cry of a younger, wounded version of himself. He started to recognize the feeling. It was the same hollow ache he felt as a boy when his father, a man consumed by work and his own quiet disappointments, would look straight through him. It was the same frantic energy he felt trying to be perfect, funny, anything that would earn a moment of his father's focused, approving attention. One Friday night, the urge was overwhelming. A stressful week at work had left him feeling small and incompetent, lighting up that old wound of unworthiness. The compulsion to go out and conquer, to feel desired and powerful, was a physical force. He got dressed, his heart pounding with that familiar mix of anxiety and anticipation. He walked to the door, his hand on the knob. And then he stopped. He pictured himself hours from now, in the gray light of morning, feeling that same soul-crushing emptiness. He pictured the boy he once was, so desperate for a sliver of validation. And he made a different choice. A choice that felt terrifying and completely unnatural. He took his hand off the doorknob, walked back into his living room, and sat down on his couch. In the silence, he didn't numb out with TV or distract himself with work. He just sat there and, for the first time, let the feeling of emptiness exist without trying to fix it. He let the loneliness wash over him. He acknowledged the pain of the small, invisible boy inside. He didn't have some grand epiphany. He didn't magically feel better. It was excruciating, but as he sat with the discomfort, something new happened. The crushing weight of it didn't kill him, he was surviving it. And in that simple act of staying, of not running, he performed the first true act of self-love he had in years. He was finally staying with himself. It wasn't a climax of passion, but a quiet, profound moment of choosing himself over the chase. It was the beginning of a new path. Mark's journey started with a single hard choice to stop running. If his story hits home for you, if you recognize your own patterns in the struggle, then your healing can also begin right now. It's not about finding more willpower. It's about building the courage to turn inward and face the wound. While these steps are a powerful starting point, please remember that if you're dealing with deep trauma or compulsion, Working with a therapist is one of the bravest and most effective things you can do. Here are 4 steps to begin. Step 1. Acknowledge the pattern without shame. First things first. You have to reframe this behavior. Your compulsive chase for lust is not a moral failing or a sign of perversion. It is a survival strategy. It was a brilliant, if misguided, attempt by a younger part of you to get a fundamental need met. For years, this pattern served a purpose. It protected you from feeling the full force of that original pain. So instead of meeting this pattern with shame and self-hatred, which only adds another layer of pain, try to meet it with curiosity. You can say to yourself, I see this pattern. I get that it was trying to protect me. Thank you for keeping me safe. But I'm an adult now, and I'm ready to find a healthier way. Shame keeps you trapped. Compassion is the key that unlocks the door. Step 2. Identify your primary wound now. It's time to become a detective of your own history. Using what you now know about these hidden wounds, start connecting the dots in your own life. Ask yourself some gentle questions. Don't force the answers. Just see what comes up. For the wound of abandonment, did you have a caregiver who was inconsistent or emotionally unavailable? Do you feel a sense of panic when a partner pulls away, even a little? Is your biggest fear being left? Do you find yourself bailing on relationships right when they start to get deep? For the wound of invisibility, growing up, did you feel like your emotions were an inconvenience? Were you told to suppress how you felt? Do you often feel disconnected, like you're just playing a role? Is the feeling of being intensely desired by someone the main time you feel truly alive and real? For the wound of unworthiness, was your father or another key caregiver highly critical, absent, or impossible to please? Do you feel like you constantly have to prove yourself through work, achievements, or romantic conquests? Do you mistake performance for connection? You might find that you connect with parts of all 3, but usually, one wound is primary. Just naming it is incredibly powerful. It changes the narrative from I'm a lust addict to I'm a person healing from a wound of invisibility. That shift is fundamental. Step 3. Grieve the unmet need. This is a step people often skip, but it's crucial. You can't heal a wound just by understanding it. You have to feel the emotional impact of it. You have to let yourself grieve what you didn't get. Grieve the consistent love you deserved. Grieve the feeling of being seen and celebrated for exactly who you were. Grieve the parental guidance and unwavering approval you never received. This grief can look like a lot of things. It might be anger, rage at the injustice of it. It might be profound sadness, weeping for the lonely child you once were. Let those feelings come up without judging them. This isn't about blaming your parents. It's about acknowledging the reality of your experience and honoring the impact it had on you. You can do this through journaling, talking to a trusted friend, or working with a therapist. By letting yourself feel the old pain now, in a safe way, you release its power over your present. Step 4. Become the parent you never had. Ultimately, healing comes from a process called reparenting. It means learning to give yourself, as an adult, the things your inner child never got. This is the active daily work of breaking the cycle. If your wound is abandonment, you reparent by learning to stay with yourself. When you feel lonely, instead of immediately grabbing your phone, you practice sitting with the feeling and reassuring that part of you. I am here. I will not abandon you. You build self-trust. If your wound is invisibility, you reparent by practicing emotional attunement. You start checking in with yourself. What am I feeling right now? You give yourself permission to feel, without judgment. You start to value your own inner world, validating your own experiences. If your wound is unworthiness, you reparent by offering yourself unconditional acceptance. You start celebrating effort instead of just results. You practice self-compassion when you mess up, using a kind inner voice instead of that familiar inner critic. You learn to source your self-worth from within, reminding yourself that your value is inherent, It's not based on your performance or anyone else's approval. This isn't a quick fix. It's a long, dedicated practice of turning toward yourself with the kindness and attention you always deserved. It is the work of a lifetime, but it's the only work that leads to true, lasting wholeness. That insatiable hunger you've been calling lust has been a loyal messenger. For years, it's been desperately trying to tell you something important. There's a part of you that is in pain. A part of you that is stuck in the past, crying out for love, for visibility, for a sense of worth. Your obsession with the chase, your compulsion to find the next fleeting connection, was never really about the other person. It was always about you. It was a strategy to soothe a deep and aching wound. To heal is not to kill your desire, but to transform it. It's to redirect that powerful energy away from the endless, fruitless search for outside validation, and to turn it inward, toward the wounded parts of yourself. This journey requires immense courage. It requires you to stop running and finally face the emptiness you've been trying so hard to outrun. It requires you to sit in the fire of your old pain and listen to what that younger part of you has been trying to say for decades. But on the other side of that pain isn't a void. On the other side is your authentic self. A self that isn't hungry, but whole. A self that doesn't need to perform for love, but is capable of giving and receiving it freely. A self that can finally find the deep, lasting intimacy it has always craved, first with yourself, and then with others. The hunger was never the real problem. It was just pointing the way home. I know this is a deep and personal topic, so I'm curious to hear from you. Looking back, have you ever felt that what you thought was intense chemistry might have actually been the familiarity of an old wound? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might be the one that helps someone else feel seen. And if this resonated, please like and subscribe so we can continue these important conversations together.